Last week, we visited an older endorsement at Hongchun. This week, we're going to visit a current endorsement. Don't worry, I triple-checked and we'll definitely see some Mamamoo poster here. It all began with an iconic episode on I Live Alone in 2018. A few years later, this craze led by Hwasa has gained massive attraction to this chain restaurant. You guessed it, is Daehan Gopchang. This restaurant needs no introduction. Immediately, we're greeted by a life-size Hwasa standee along with some popular menu options.
And this one is gopchang, makchang, and what is this?
That's yongtong. I'll explain in a bit. As you can see, I was clearly in heaven seeing all this Mamamoo content, but let's not derail too soon.
So we're gonna do gopchang and noodle, and then that's it. Right? Okay.
Or you can do gopchang and tteokbokki and fried rice.
Do you think we can handle more spice? I can, this one is good.
Sorry, focus on Sola's taste, but not yours.
It's fun.
We looked out big timing at the spot next to Sola and Hien. While I take a break from fangirling, we noticed there was a sheet underneath our tray that labeled the curry and cheese powder, garlic sauce, fruit sauce, and some good old soy sauce. While I was fulfilling every fangirl's dream by taking hundreds of unnecessary photos, our noodles arrived along with the pan full of raw gopchangs. To be honest, I thought we had to cook everything ourselves, but it looks like we will enjoy some tableside service while being surrounded by Mamamoo. Or should I say just Sola and Hwien. While the intestines are sizzling on the burner, we had a taste of the cool, refreshing kimchi noodle. I thought it would be spicy, but it was actually not.
Gopchang, daechang, makchang, yomtong.
What's yomtong?
I don't know.
Try. Oh no, I'm reading.
This is just yomtong. Beef heart.
After finally solving the yongtong mystery, beef heart was actually the first thing that was ready to eat. Because of all that fat in gopchang, they'll have to cook a little longer before we can have a taste. This was my first time having beef heart, so I tried once by itself and then again with cheese powder. All I have to say is that it was very interesting.
I think because it's heart muscle, it's very strong.
As more oil was oozing out of the intestines, we were fighting the urge to dig in too soon while jamming to their Mamamoo playlist. Next thing I know, my prayers were heard and everything was being torched to perfection. I was surprised and glad that nothing caught on fire because the heat felt so intense. With the help of the blowtorch, the intestines were finally ready for consumption. 잘 먹겠습니다. Let's pick up our chopsticks and eat. Starting with the infamous small intestines, the thin layer of smooth muscle is chewy and savory. Then it was the makchang, aka the fourth and final stomach of cattle. It was not too squishy, not too chewy, a perfect combination of muscle and fat. Due to the fatty nature of the large intestine, it wasn't cooked enough yet, so I went back for seconds on those gopchangs. Usually, you can judge how delicious something actually is by looking at my hand gestures. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I wish I could diffuse scent through my video because it smelled crazy good. Good enough to make me want to do the intro twice. While daechang was taking his sweet time, the grilled pumpkin was at its prime when we took a bite. The texture was a nice boost to its flavor.
Right now my favorite is the makchang because it's so much fat.
Just because it's not meat doesn't mean that tteokbokki should be overlooked. The scorched texture contrasts so well with its chewiness. Same thing goes with the shiitake enoki mushrooms. I guess it's true that everything tastes good if you grill it. As for the potatoes, I was not certain if it was actually ready. Well, I tried and turns out it was. It was ready. At last, after soaking up all the grease from its fellow intestines, daechang was finally cooked and ready to be harvested. I must admit, the wait was worth it. The texture of the daechang was different than the makchang, which was sitting at number 1 on my spot. But after this bite, the tables have turned. No wonder it's the most expensive part of intestines. I may have some expensive taste, but I also love me some chives. We all need some green in our lives after all that grease. Am I right? Drawing my attention away from the food, I could finally appreciate our cozy spot filled with a vintage poster and the biggest sola nuhin I've ever seen in my life. Mission accomplished. I could finally cross out one more item on my Mumu bucket list. I expected to have some good food, but I ended up with some good company too. Thanks to the flavor and the view, this experience was simply unforgettable. Thank you, Daehan Gopchang. 잘 먹었습니다.